The most talked about subject here will likely be the pro-democracy movement that began in North Africa and swept across the Middle East all the way to Yemen. In March, after dozens of pro-democracy protesters were killed in his country, former Yemeni UN ambassador Abdullah al-Saidi resigned his post. He is now a senior fellow with the Independent International Peace Institute in New York. He says these countries will require international support to smooth their transition to democracy.
Some countries will need economic assistance. Some might not need economic assistance because they have oil wealth, like the Libyans. The Syrian and the Yemenis will eventually need economic help. But they will also need political support. They will need to help these people in terms of the transformation from dictatorial regimes to democracies.
Last year, U.S. President Barack Obama told the General Assembly he hoped to see a Palestinian state among their ranks by this September. But renewed Israeli settlement expansion derailed peace talks and the progress President Obama hoped for. Now the Palestinians say they may seek enhanced recognition or even full membership at the United Nations. State Department spokeswoman Victoria Nuland says Washington will block such a move if it comes to the UN Security Council.
It should not come as a shock to anyone in this room that the U.S. opposes a move in New York by the Palestinians to try to establish a state that can only be achieved through negotiations. So yes, if something comes to a vote in the UN Security Council, the U.S. will veto.
Nevertheless, IPI's al-Saidi says the Palestinians will still pursue enhanced recognition at the United Nations because they have nothing to lose.
First, for the Palestinians, there are no peace talks. So when they say, don't go to the UN because this will scuttle the peace process, but there's no peace process. So the Palestinians have no alternative, in their view, other than to go to the United Nations and ask for recognition of the state of Palestine within the borders of June 4th, 1967.
Leaders will also be discussing other pressing international issues, including the famine in the Horn of Africa, the war in Afghanistan, and nuclear nonproliferation. Margaret Besheer, VOA News, the United Nations.